What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Demon Reads Comics, and today we're gonna wrap up the series of the Reckless series, or the Reckless books, and this one is called Follow Me Down, a Reckless book by Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and colors by Jacob Phillips. Just to be sure, let me check that. Yep, colors by Jacob Phillips. This was published by Image Comics, and like the other ones as well, it does have sewn binding, which this binding is actually a little bit weird. It's kind of coming off one side, but not the other. I don't know how that works, but anyway, this was a good story. It kind of wraps up the story of Ethan Reckless. Anna's not really in the story that much, like I said in the previous video. Anna's doing her own thing in that story because Ethan goes to San Francisco as a favor to somebody. This is the story of when he goes to San Francisco. Of course, you know, he comes back and it kind of wraps up the story. I'm not going to lie, I don't like how it wrapped up. I really don't, because there's certain things that happen. If you've been following this story, you kind of want to know what happened to this person or that person. And of course, there's only two people you really want to know what happened to, right? Ethan Reckless and Anna. And I don't want to give anything away, but you kind of only really know about Ethan at the end. And there's a reason for that. But whatever happened to Anna, you get a small little explanation, not even a small explanation, like a little sentence, and it's left alone. Like, what? So anyway, let's crack open this book so we can get a little bit more of this story right here. You guys can check out the beautiful art, again, by Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker. And you guys can see if you guys want to check this book out for yourself or not. Alright guys, here we are with the last entry in the Reckless storyline. Follow Me Down. Now this book, like I said, it was actually very interesting, but I already knew what was going to happen, kind of, because it kind of tells you, again, like every other Reckless book, in the beginning of the book, what's happening. Let me get to it. Actually, no. This one was a little bit different. Now that I'm kind of thinking about it, because I read it in 2 days. It's a short book. You can read it in 1 day, in like about 2 hours. But I kind of read a little bit and stopped and then picked it up the next day. So this one doesn't have to do with Ethan and or Anna. Well, okay, so first and foremost, this one has nothing to do with Anna whatsoever. Like I said previously, Anna is back in in LA doing her own thing. Ethan had left on a job to San Francisco. And so before he goes to San Francisco, something happens to somebody we don't know, and somebody does that. This female right here plays a big part in this story. Her name is Rachel, and she's the one that does it. Now, we don't even get to this part in the story. Like, we know about this story, but then we cut back to, give me a second, there we go. We cut back to Ian being back in Los Angeles, doing him. Being happy, going surfing, and then it's at one point, like he goes and hangs out with Anna at times, but it's at one point that he's living at this hotel, and some guys are trying to steal his van, and some other guys come up and stop that, and because of that, Ethan owes them a favor. So one day, the guy comes up and asks Ethan for that favor. And it's to go help his son find his missing girlfriend. That girlfriend was the girl we saw in the beginning, Rachel. So then Ethan, he can't really say no, takes up the job and goes out to San Francisco. Beautiful art, very beautiful art. First stop he does is he goes and see his, this Francis's son, asking questions. Seeing what's going on, trying to get a read on why his ex-girlfriend left. After he gets all this information, he does a little bit of research and starts finding out things, and gets some leads, and eventually finds out what she's doing, where she's going, and things like that. I don't want to give away what she's doing, but let me put it this way: she's trying to get revenge on a few people. In the meantime, while she's getting revenge, Ethan kind of stumbles upon her, and at first doesn't really want to, like, his only job is to find her, that's it, and take her back. But after she tells him the story of why she's doing what she's doing, he decides to help her, and he does. And at the end of it, something kind of goes wrong on because of Ethan. He kind of gets like this angry rage temper thing, and he messes up the plan. So they are unable to finish what the revenge started with Rachel. And so they kind of go their own ways at the end. And he goes back to Los Angeles because this is around the time, right? Give me 1 second. Let me flip to it. This is when they're coming up with the plan of what to do next. They actually hide out in Yosemite for 4 days, which is kind of nice, actually. A little bit drawn out, in my opinion. They kind of drew this out a little bit too long. I kind of have to skip through a few pages because there's a little bit of nudity. Like there wasn't in the last book, there was, but there is in this one. Anyway, so this is when Ethan loses his temper. There was supposed to be a plan with one of the guys here, but because Ethan went all out and killed both of them, that plan isn't going to work anymore. And so, let me see if there's no more. Wait, there we go. Nope, a little bit more. And so they go and follow the last person that Rachel wants to get revenge, and figure out that they can't finish it. And that's when they go their separate ways, and Ethan gets the call about Anna, her story, that she's been, hurt, and he goes back to Los Angeles to check on her. And that's pretty much where the story almost ends. Like, it's been years, 15 years later. Like, it's the summer of 2004 already. And so it kind of starts here. Like, we see that the El Ricardo is out of business, not working anymore. We don't know why. We know Ethan is in his 50s already. And all of a sudden, Rachel shows up again. And she asks him for help one last time. And he doesn't want to do it at first, but he agrees to it. And he only agrees to it because he thinks of Anna and what she should have done. When he got back from San Francisco, and on the last book, he sat down and told Anna everything. And Anna was pretty much telling Ethan that Rachel was the girl he should have been with. And he kind of slept on that, like, in his mind for 15 years. So when she came back, even though he was kind of reluctant to help her finish the revenge thing, he finally said, you know what, I'll help you finish this up. Why not? So they finally go out and try to do it, but a little twist at the end happens, and you kind of find out what Rachel's been up to these last 15 years, which is kind of nice, actually. But overall, after everything's done, he kind of starts reminiscing about everything. And after everything, we don't really find out what happens to him, towards the end. He just, I guess, between him and Rachel, they kind of see each other off and on for years. She leaves, comes back a few months, and it's just, that's about it. But we don't know if he has a happy ending. We don't know what happens to Anna. Actually, you do know what happens to Anna, but it's not really discussed in detail as to what happened, where, when, nothing like that. And we find out what happened to the El Ricardo, and that's about it. And then just kind of wraps up. And I wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't like how it ended. I didn't like how this, okay, first and foremost, I liked the story. It was very interesting. I kind of enjoyed the story in itself, but the way they wrapped up the series is what I didn't like. And I wasn't a big fan of it. And I'll give my rating of the overall story. And I'll give my rating for this book, later on. But that's pretty much how the plot of this is. It pretty much has to do with Ethan Reckless and Rachel, and that's it, and their story. And like, there's nothing else to it, and that's pretty much where it ends. Like, this is him talking about what he done when he's an older guy to a guy that ran over a dog, and that's where it ends. There's an afterword. There's no book that's continuing. Like if you guys noticed, the other books showed what was coming next. There's nothing with that. And then it shows not all of them, but most of the criminal kind of books that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips did. Like I said, I've read all the criminal books. Very good. I read all the Fatale books. These are actually criminal books as well. They're just in the deluxe editions. Here's some of the Reckless books. Cruel Summer is part of the criminal universe. pulp. I might actually end up picking it up. I was seeing a review on it the other day, so it looks interesting. The Fade Out, top notch. Favorite book of Ed Brubaker so far. And like I said, I still haven't received, or I still haven't read Kill or Be Killed. And I said this previously. I ordered it like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago from In Stock Trades, and I still yet have not gotten your order has shipped out. Like I placed the order, they took the money, but nothing. Like they take so long to do it. Like I'm gonna give it until like the end of this week and try to contact them. But after that, it's just the biographies of Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Jacob Phillips, and it ends. I like this though. The wolves and stuff, even though wolves have nothing to do with it, but I think they're kind of trying to do the whole Yosemite thing, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, that's kind of how it wraps up. Like, there's no happy ending for anybody in this. There's no nothing. And like I said, this book only really has to do with Ethan Reckless, Rachel, and this guy's name is Porter. And he doesn't really play, I mean, yeah, he does play a part, and there's a story behind him, but what happens to him and everything is kind of like, really? Like, and I don't know. I didn't like how it ended. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and do the last bit of this. I'll give my rating to it and see what you guys think. All right, guys. So overall, I'm going to give this book alone a 6. I liked the story. It was nice. The art was beautiful. But I like how it ties in with the fourth book, you know, because Anna's doing her thing, and now you got Ethan doing his thing. But the story overall, I don't like how it wrapped it up. The overall story, I'm sorry, you know what? I'm gonna give this a 7 because it was pretty good. Now I know I said previously the overall story because of book 3 and maybe book 4, I liked it because it was, you know, focusing on Anna. Book 3 is really what drew me in because it was a relationship between Ethan and Anna. And this one had nothing to do with, you know, Anna whatsoever. And the way they kind of explain what happened to her, I wasn't a big fan of it. So I know before I said my rating for the overall series was about a 7. It dropped down to a 6. Like, one book in the whole series is not going to make me change my mind on 4 other books. So I'm giving this, the whole story in general, I'm giving it a 6. This book in itself, I'm giving it a 6 as well. They could have probably wrapped it up in the last book and had nothing to do with this one. I get they were trying to explain what Ethan was doing his last, you know, not really last, because he still did a little bit of work on the side, but one of his major, you know, fixing things that he was doing. But it was kind of like, I don't know. I think they could have done where they could have done maybe 3 books and made them bigger and told the story a lot better. But breaking it down into 5 books, you kind of start seeing towards like book 4 and book 5, some of the story in it is kind of pointless, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm giving this book in itself a 6. The whole story now in itself, I'm also giving it a 6. So I'm definitely not keeping these books. One book in itself is not, you know, it's not enough for me to warrant to keep the whole 5 books. So yeah, that's just my opinion. So just to recap on this, A Reckless book, which is technically book 5 in the Reckless series, Follow Me Down by Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, but colors by Jacob Phillips, published by Image Comics, as you guys can see there, and sewn binding. I like these sewn bindings, but it's weird because they're sewn, but they're glued at the same time. I have a book that I need to fix. It's sewn binding, but the pages are coming off the sewn part, so I need to put glue in it, and I need to check out a tutorial how to do it. So that's gonna be my first. But yeah, I hope you guys like this. I wasn't the biggest fan of how it ended. The overall story was cool, like all of it. I guess, like I said, if they put 3 books together and made them bigger, it would have been a great story, like they did for Criminal. But it was a good read. It was a great read. You know, I blew through these books pretty quickly. You can honestly read these in a day, in a couple hours. Not even that. Like, it took me 2 days to read this, but if I really wanted to, I could have sat down and finished it in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I know there's not that much reading involved. It's like, how can you take an hour and a half to read, you know, little things like this? But what I do is I read what they're saying, and then I kind of check out the pictures for a little bit, like that little box in general. Skip on to the next one. read what they say, and then see the art. So that's why it takes me a little bit longer than you would think. But yeah, overall, I hope you guys like this series of this. I know there's going to be 5 consecutive videos of reviews of the Reckless book series. I was thinking about doing them all together. There was going to be a long one, but I figured why not do books individually, you know? Like if I'm doing it's a book review, not like books review, if that makes sense. So yeah, overall, I really like this story. I recommend it if you're a fan of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Definitely give it a read. Definitely. It's up there with Criminal. Very interesting story. Ethan Reckless is a great guy. You know a lot about him, and you know who he is. And I like that. You know who Anna Keller is. And like the only thing you don't know is what happened to her at the end. But overall, great story. If you guys haven't done so already, give me a or subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Plus, it helps get these reviews out there. I know there's a few reviews that I've been looking for some books before I pick them up that I don't find whatsoever. And so if I can actually do reviews that, you know, some graphic novels that don't have reviews, so people can make up, you know, their minds on if they want to pick it up or not, I'm definitely willing to do that because I like these kind of books. So if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe so you can, you know, put my videos out there. Give me a like, you know, hit that thumbs button. That really helps out. And then leave a comment, you know, let me know if you guys read the series. Let me know out of the 5, which one was your favorite in the story. Let me know if you guys liked the whole story in general, or if you guys, it just wasn't for you. Like I said, I have a whole bunch that I still need to read. And when I say a whole bunch, I have all the Sin Cities that I need to read. I got Scalped 1 and 2, Volume 1 and 2, Sandman, a whole bunch of Spawn, Faithless, The Watchmen. I mean, I have so much to read. And then I got like a lot of Daredevil, Punisher, and Batman to read as well. Like I just started this and I just started thinking about, like I read, let's see, I read The Criminal Deluxe 1, 2, and 3. I read Sunstone Mercy Book 3. I'm sorry, Sunstone Book 1, Sunstone Book 2, Sunstone Mercy Book 3. And then I read Swing, the complete collection. I read Karma. I read The Rocketeer. And then that's kind of when I started thinking, I was like, or not, I'm sorry, I read Jessica Jones Alias Omnibus. And that's kind of when I started thinking, maybe I should start doing reviews to kind of start thinking, you know, helping me kind of, did I do this? Did I read this? Did I read this? And it helps, right? So if you guys want me to do reviews on those, again, I might go back and read them. Most of those ones I read, I'm going to keep anyway, -1. But if you guys want me to do review on them, I'll definitely, you know, reread them, you know, do a quick read and be like, oh yeah, I remember this story, and do a video on them. Let me know if you in the comments down below. That being said, we'll see you on the next one.